great haunts are not bought, great haunts are built. And that comes from the thought process of you have to get creative. I've seen I've seen shows that have huge budgets that there's no heart in it because everything was just purchased and placed and nobody built anything. And I referenced him earlier, but I reference Alan Hops a lot. I like his mentality of nothing arrives finished.
Yeah.
Even if it's a prop you bought at the show, when it comes to your show, it's not finished because you haven't put it in your scene. And just putting it in a room doesn't necessarily mean you've put it in a scene. And what I mean by that is you can place something in a room and it doesn't necessarily feel like it's supposed to be there until you tie it in with everything else.
Welcome to Haunt Topic Radio, the podcast for haunters by haunters. These are our scary visions.
Welcome back, haunters, to another episode of Haunt Topic Radio. Yes, things have been kind of crazy around here. I know we kind of got late on this podcast. We try to put out one a month because that kind of goes with our schedule, with everything else we do in the haunt world. Well, basically, our Scare Badge website has been funky for a while. So we actually had to do some revamping on that, scarebadges.com. It is now lightning fast. I guess we were getting so much traffic there that it just was locking up on us. So we had to move servers. So everything should be good to go for this season. Now, in the process of moving our website, we have some color option photos that aren't quite there for our name badges. Some of our stuff is not listed on the website yet. So please, if you don't see it, contact us or just hang around. We're updating stuff all the time. I'm working on it today. The reason this podcast is late, we're still pushing out our monthly master classes. For this one, for instance, is with Matt Scott. We're talking about cheap builds, cheap scares, things you can do on a budget. It's really good if you saw the presentation because we went through a lot of photos and Matt talked about everything that not everything, but things in the photos and how they were built, so you have kind of a visual aid. If you want to see this replay, make sure you are a member of the Hunter's Toolbox. That's hunterstoolbox.com. As a free member, you will always get access to our master classes. As a paid member, I will actually send you the recording of the video. You'll have access to that forever as long as you're a member. You also get a special link to go into our private Zoom room where your questions will be immediately answered in our chat. You also get to hang out with our guests more. You get to be there before the show, after the show. And that's our paying membership plan at HauntersToolbox.com. But as a free member, if you go over there and sign up, you do get access to the Facebook Live event as a free member. So being a paid member gives you a few more perks. Plus there's some stuff on our website. There's some how to get started videos and scare acting training videos that you can only access as a paid member as well. So we should have the Facebook Live posted in our Honors Toolbox group, which should be pinned to the top of the page. It'll also be on our Haunt Topic Radio podcast page on Facebook, is where we host them and then we share them over to Hunter's Toolbox. Facebook makes it complicated. I understand it. Which brings me to our next class. It's going to be about Facebook ads. So August 18th, with Scary Good Ticketing, 7:30 to 9 p.m. If you guys want to set up to this, it is called The Dark Magic Behind Facebook Advertising. With Scary Good Ticketing, it'll be pinned to the Haunt Topic page on Facebook and also be pinned to the Haunters Toolbox group on Facebook. That is August 18th from 7:30 to 9 Central Time. And if you are a member of the Haunters Toolbox email list, you will get a free invite. If you are a paid member, you will get an invite and you will get the recording and you'll get access to our private Zoom room. So if you are interested in either one of those, then just go to Hunter's Toolbox and sign up. Well, let's roll into it. This is our masterclass with Matt Scott from Von Grimm Productions on budget-friendly scares.
I never would have imagined 20 years ago that I'd still be doing this, but here I am. And this topic is very near and dear to me because I come from the way I like to put it, I'm a hillbilly, and hillbillies don't like to waste anything. So I became a hillbilly haunter, and that's like double hoarding. So
Uh-huh.
uh, I've always had to figure out how to make things work because usually I didn't have a huge budget, or uh, the budget I did have was allocated elsewhere. We had to, make do with what we had. So it's forced me to learn some creative ways to do things. It's forced me to learn alternative ways to do things. I always like to tell people, like, just because there is one way to do something doesn't mean that that's the only way there is to do it. And also, I'm very curious. I always like to try and figure out how to do things, or how things are formulated. Like I told Kip this one time. I said, dude, I've spent probably almost as long as I've been in the haunt industry trying to figure out how to make my own permablood.
Mm.
Like, just because,
I think everybody has their own recipe, don't they?
yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I always liked it, but because I never had the money to spend on it up until recently, I was like, I got to figure out how to do it. And along the way, I came up with some pretty cool alternative formulas that, in some ways, performed better than Permablood. Not to discredit, it's a wonderful product. They do great stuff, but I came up with a formula one time that was more UV resistant and water resistant because it was made with a polyurethane. The problem with that is when you put it on costumes, it becomes very brittle, and when it breaks, it gets very sharp. But it was great for set dress because it never faded.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we tried the clear polyurethane
mhm.
with some maybe some dye in it to try to make it.
what I found that worked really well for that was it's a product called Trans Tint, and it's a translucent oil-based stain tint, and you can get it. I found it when I was working for my brother's guitar shop because we used for making his lacquer colors,
Right.
and I was like, oh, well, I played around with it one day and it came out perfect and it was awesome. But like I said, it didn't work for costumes, and we found that out the hard way because someone was like, I can't move in this costume now.
Yep.
But it was really cool for set dress. There's stuff that I put that on 11 years ago that it still looks as good as it did then.
And I think it's all what it's all about. I think haunting is like experimenting with a lot of different things because it is art with, a lot of creative brain power stuff, trying to combine things and make
Yeah.
things. And some of these videos that I'm watching out now, watching on Facebook and Reels, and I'm like, holy crap. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't even think about doing something like that out of a pool noodle,
Right.
So it's like crazy.
And it's cool because you learn so much from seeing other people do things just like that. Where you're like, oh, I would have never thought to do that, but now I'm totally going to do that from now on out.
Yeah.
Um, I like the saying of, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yep. I just like to start to come up with original ideas.
Yeah.
At
I mean,
this point in time, it's like we just kind of combine things together.
yeah, that's why I like talking with other haunters and just like, hey, do you have an idea of how to do this? I've got a couple ideas, but I want to see what you thought of, and back and forth. And most of the time, especially now, like it wasn't this way a few years ago. Like when I first got in, it was still pretty guarded. A lot of people didn't like to share their secrets, but it's much more open now than it was, which is awesome because, one, if people want to find the information, they can. I mean, I did. I remember scouring forums and message boards to learn stuff. And now it's just readily available. It could be through things like Hunter's Toolbox and Hunter's Hangout and just YouTube. And but back in the day, you didn't have as much resources that had this information. Now everyone is much more willing to share it, and I think it's made the industry better as a whole.
Yes. I know when YouTube first came out, it was kind of like no, don't show the behind the scenes. Don't,
Mhm.
everybody was just kind of keeping it close and they didn't want to, we had the old forums out there, the old monster list,
Mhm.
some of the old forums and stuff that people were
Halloween
sharing on
Forum,
thing.
man.
Halloween forum, haunt forum, I think was one, a monster list. I'm sure if you guys know any old stuff that we're talking about, put it in the comments.
Totally.
What did you guys kind of grow up on? There was like big scary guys or some website they were talking.
Hmm.
We use like do not do this, but the screen door pneumatics,
Yep.
you know. So because if you
I've,
put too much air pressure on those, you can blow those up.
yep.
So
I've hacked a few of those in my day.
yeah, yeah. So Those are all cheap things you can do. So let's go ahead and start it off. Well, if you look at the bullet list, lighting design, reclaimed materials, reusable scenes, using the five senses, and like you did one of our a class for us on the five senses, I believe.
I
Um,
mentioned it in my psychology of fear.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, psychology of fear class you did for us. And that is a podcast as well. So you guys can go back. It's been a few years ago, but
Yep.
you should be able to find it. Force perspective and where to spend the money. And that's a big thing is I see a lot of people trying to they go to the big shows and they have a vision, but
Hmm.
when they get to the show, they kind of, oh man, I need a dinosaur. No, I need that pirate
Yep.
ship. No, so it's kind of like stick
It's
within your boundaries. You'll save money in the long run because I've known haunters that have bought stuff and then never used it and sat there and it was a $20,000 prop. I mean, it's like that's some of the small haunts budget for that one prop, So
every year, it never fails. Every year, about a week or so after Transworld's over, I'll see people on Facebook that are trying to sell props they bought at the show and realize they have no use for in their scene.
right.
Oh man.
I think Scarlet badges are one of the smartest things I've seen in the industry in a really long time. Scarlet badges are basically either pins or embroidered patches, kind of like merit badges, as they are, somewhat named after, from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and Brownies, and where after you've accomplished something, you can wear the brag tag of the embroidered patch. Some haunts put them on jackets, some put them on t-shirts, some put them on, with the pins, I've seen them put them on lanyards. But the neat thing about them is they are very specific in what they are rewarding. And they're haunt-based images that reflect what's being rewarded. It's retention, it is bringing people back, and it's actually giving your haunters, your haunt performers, the ability to share that they are haunt performers. And, oh really, you're a scare actor. Where do you do that? And then they will insert the name of your haunt right there. So it's also marketing. I've always been a big fan of Scarlet badges. I think they're great. So check them out, scarletbadges.com. No, that is not a paid advertisement. That is just my recommendation. I think it's really cool.
ScottSwinson.com.
So
Love
what
it.
is this?
This was one of our scenes at Death Yard Haunted Attraction. It's actually the first haunt I worked for when I moved to Nashville, and we had no budget. I mean, we were scraping together everything we could. But one of the owners, Carol Moore, he has a knack for finding what he likes to call haunt porn, which is just anything that's a real found object that fits into a scene. And this was part of our asylum scene, if I'm not mistaken. And every item in there was something we pulled out of a junk pile, or someone was doing a clear out of their house, or someone passed away. They were getting stuff out of there, and we would go in and we would dress the set. We'd go in, we'd paint everything first, and all those wall panels are they're 4x8 panels, and they were painted with whatever paint we could find cheapest. And then we would come in and distress them. And then after all the distressing was done, we would come in and we would set dress with all the haunt porn. And Carol, he had this knack for putting stuff in a way that it worked and it was believable, to where even the landlord who owned the building, a couple of times we'd convinced him that we'd found parts of the building that like he didn't know were there. We tell him like we knocked a wall down and found this old warehouse or something. And
Yeah.
he believed it. And
So
then I
did
would
you?
come in and I would do my finishing touches on stuff. I would add dust and cobwebs, and some more water damage, things like that.
I mean, that's the best play. I mean, that's how I started the Dead Factory when I owned it was uh same thing, man. It's just like,
Hmm.
we call it trashing around here in
Yep.
Missouri. We call it trashing. Spring cleanup and fall cleanup. And I trailer full, truck full.
Yep.
I had before I started the Dead Factory, just so happens our local hospital was having a sale. And no, it
Oh
wasn't,
man.
it was an auction.
Oh man.
So we're talking like real good beds,
Yeah.
real good beds with hydraulics and incubators, IV poles, microscopes, equipment. I got everything that I wanted for $20
Holy
because
cow.
two people showed up out of the for the whole auction. She's like, I don't know, $20. I'm like, yeah.
Done.
So I mean, like, what they call that haunt score.
Oh,
So
totally.
um, well, what we got, let's pause for a second. We have Lee Miller out there, Dave Ferrier, Craig Conwell, Octavio, Sean, Cody Gardner, Tom Coster, looking at Virginia, Indiana, New York, Illinois, Florida, New Jersey, Amber Hayslip, ESZ. What's that? We have let's see. Sean, I like to use other haunters ideas as jumping off point for what I want to do.
Hmm.
Tia, so happy to hear you saying all these things. We have been a home haunt, open a ticketed river. Okay, yeah. Float have been for 3 years now and have our own acres and first 1,500 square foot building built. Ran electrical last weekend, ready to learn how to make a small space amazing and a little to no budget. Thankfully, we hoarded for years. Perfect.
That's key.
Ruben, regards from Mexico. Hey, Ruben.
Nice.
So, so set up like this. I mean, you using OSB wood? I mean, we use OSB because it was cheaper. I know
Yep.
it likes to soak up paint, and if it
Yep.
gets wet, it likes to swell on you. But
And
it looks like the trim might be like one buys,
the
right? So
that was actually deck boards.
deck boards,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, the panels were OSB, and like I said, they're cheap, but they like soak up paint. But one thing I will warn people about is check with your fire marshal, because some fire marshals, if they see you've used OSB, will tell you to
Yes.
scrap it because of the glue that's used to hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, even if you flame retarded it, some fire marshals are real sticklers about it. And everything we did here was flame retarded. That was one area we did not skimp on, is we always made sure we had money for safety.
Right.
We can skimp in other areas and make up for it, but you can't skimp on safety. Safety has to
Do you
be
mix it?
priority.
You mix it in the paint?
Hmm.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. And then on top of that, like all the water damage, that was done with literally spray paint and a spray bottle of water. So
Yep.
we would spray the spray paint real heavy, and then as while it's still wet, you hit it with water and it gets these great water drips. And then you can also, if you, I'd learned this a couple years ago, if you just barely, it takes some practice, but if you just barely press down on the nozzle of the spray bottle, you get a really good spattering.
Yep.
And if you do that in conjunction with a spray bottle at the same time, you get this really good, realistic mold look to where it kind of just it dissipates and spreads out and looks like authentic mold growth, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's like learning tricks and techniques like that is, and like I said, it's a haunted house. So go
Hmm.
experiment. Try,
Yeah.
try to fix. Try to pick one dark spot in the haunt that it might be out of the way. People won't see it, and just start practicing there.
And worst case scenario, if you mess up on a paint job or something, you can always paint over it and start over.
Yep.
Obviously, time's always an important factor, but don't freak out if you mess up on a paint technique because you're trying something new. You can always start over. Nothing's permanent.
Yep. It's a haunt.
Yep.
So if it's straight, it ain't supposed to be there, right?
It, I would say the worse it looks, the better it looks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as Alan Hoppe said, it like a reverse feng shui. So it's
Yeah.
like, you want the cabinet doors opened up, pointing to the people. You want
Yeah, and there
pictures
is a science
crooked
to
and
that. Yeah.
mm,
It definitely it messes with people's heads because you know what something should look like. And when you come in and it looks disheveled and dilapidated, you automatically everyone knows what a haunted house looks like. The haunted house in the neighborhood story is always the rundown haunted house. So when things are run down and dilapidated, you automatically feel like you shouldn't be there.
right.
And then you start, getting into people worried about, disease and mold and gross things. So that goes back to tapping into their fears.
Got a Tia said, can you explain how you distress the metal counter top and props?
That is actually a Formica countertop that we just made look really gross, but it was a stainless steel sink. So we just made it really, really grungy and disgusting. I mean, textured it with paint and sawdust, and a lot of that came from just us working in the room, and then we just would make it solid. So we'd get dust settling on things while we were working. I would just come back and put polyurethane over top of it and make it part of the scene. And then I would come in and I would spread, like, one of the very last things I would do would be cobwebs and dust. And I actually got one that's across the room. I went and got a rose plant crop duster, and I would use what's called diatomaceous earth. It's an animal food additive to keep it from clumping. Um,
Okay.
and you obviously want to wear a dust mask or a respirator when you're doing that because you're putting a dust cloud in the air. But once it settles, it's unless someone stirs up a big cloud of it, which I've never seen happen in a haunt. Once it settles and you can go seal it if you want, it looks just like real old age dust that's settled and stuff, and you can build up as thick as you want. You can just keep doing layer after layer, and it also sticks well to the cobwebs and makes them read more.
Do you have any good tips on cobwebs?
Webcaster gun is one of the best I've found, but what I like to do with it is if I'm really wanting to build up a large area of cobwebs quickly, and I'm always trying to do stuff quickly, it's just in my nature. I'm very
Yeah.
impatient.
Yeah.
I'll actually put in a grid of thin monofilament or fishing line first. Like I'll string a few across just to give the webs, the hot glue webs, something to grab onto. And then also a trick I've learned is spray some webs and then go to another area and spray some webs and let those settle and cool down and then come back and you can build on top of them. Because if you go too quickly and too heavily in one area, it'll just collapse under its own weight because the hot glue is still kind of warm when it hits as the web. So step away, spray another area, then come back and it's cooled off enough to where it'll hold a little bit more weight and you can keep building that way. But
Right.
the fishing line is one of the best things I found for creating a very heavy cobweb quickly.
Fishing line.
hmm I would just go and I would like staple it up in a couple spots and kind of just do, depending on how heavy I wanted to do, just a few strings across. Uh, it was really good for building up on like corpses and entryways, stuff like that, where you really wanted to look like, kind of like how the opening scene of the movie The Mummy, where it was just heavy, heavy cobwebs.
Uh-huh.
You could do a blanket of cobwebs that way.
What do you think about like the beef netting? Do you like that look or?
I do and I don't. I like it when it's done well. I've seen it done kind of slapdash a lot of times, and it just doesn't look right. I also don't like just plain bright white beef netting.
Hmm.
I like to either come back and dust it with some rattle can paint, or I haven't tried this, but I'm curious if you could dye it. I've never tried. I imagine you probably could. Might need a synthetic dye, but I've never tried that. But I think it can be used well as a good base too. Like if you put that down first, and then come back over top of it with the webcaster gun, it can really create a heavy spider web look.
Do you know what causes haunted attractions to shut down before they even get started? The top three roadblocks are lack of funding, lack of leadership, lack of resources. As a member of the Haunters Toolbox, you get instant access to the tools you need to start and grow your own haunted attraction business. To get started, become a member at haunterstoolbox.com. Tell us about this.
Oh, that hallway. I love that hallway. That was a great scare hallway. That was going into our asylum scene, and we hate just dead transition hallways. Like that was our big things. Like even between the scenes, we want a scene. So we built, we had this countertop built in, and there's some old electrical panels in there. There's some, I mean, there's the red box on the wall is a sharps container. We got a lot of hospital trash for lack of a better term. And some stuff you if you look close enough, actually I can't tell if it's still in the picture, but down the far end of that counter at one point we had like I think it was a purple or a blue iMac, one of the old school like see-through iMac computers,
Mm,
and
yep.
we had a security footage video playing on that, so that would light up the hallway just enough to where people could see that they needed to go down that hallway. But when they would come in, because they were coming from the camera's perspective, they'd be coming from the right hand side of the image. So that would actually that screen was facing right at them, so it would kind of blind them as they're walking up, and they turn,
Yeah.
their eyes would have to adjust, and we could scare people all day long in that hallway.
Love all the details and all the little pieces. And
Yeah, it like it looks like, a garbage can threw up, but it threw up with purpose. Like it knew where things needed to go and it
yeah,
made sense.
it's like someone's actually been there working,
hmm
you know?
And inside that electrical panel, we had an electric firecracker, so that was always a good scare going down that hallway. And again, just making it look gross and grungy and ancient.
So salvaged wood,
Yep,
maybe an old workbench, maybe or
it was
something.
all pretty much all salvaged wood in this attraction.
Old pallets, maybe
It
possible.
was a lot of fence panels. A lot of because a couple of guys on the crew worked in construction, so we would get a lot of calls when a construction job was done, like, "Hey, we have some leftover lumber that we don't want to haul off. Guys want to come get it," and we'd go pick up a trailer load of lumber or a truckload of lumber here and there. A lot of times we found they would have lumber that they used for concrete forms. They would get these big, sometimes 2x6s, 2x12s they would use for forms for pouring concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want to, or they couldn't reuse them because it had concrete all over the edge of it. So they're like, oh, we're just gonna throw it away. So we would go get 2x6s, 2x12s for free by the truckload, which was awesome because that's expensive lumber. I mean,
Yeah.
all lumber is expensive now, but back then that was the real expensive stuff.
Yeah, we'd always go to I don't know what they called it. It was like a scrap pile of lumber, like the lumber yards would have scrap piles, like stuff
Like a
that's
like a coal
twisted.
a coal cart.
Yeah, like where it's
Yep.
all twisted or
Mhm.
broken or they couldn't
Yeah.
sell it. So yeah, we were buying it just by bulk and he would be like
Yeah.
$60. Sure. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
probably, $500 worth of lumber there, right?
Yep.
So
Home Depot they have a section in the lumber area that's their coal lumber, and it'll be stuff like that. It's twisted or warped, and they'll
yeah,
mark it down. Sometimes I've seen stuff marked down to 70%.
yeah,
And that's another thing is learning both Home Depot and Lowe's what their discount programs and clearance program stuff are. Uh, I've worked at both of them through the years, and back when I was working at Lowe's, these two things always stick out to me. I remember they may have changed it since then because people probably abused it, but we had a discount program for busted bags of mulch and busted bags of concrete. If a
hmm
bag of concrete had a hole in it, didn't matter the size of the hole, the bag would get marked down 50% right off the bat.
right,
The mulch, if it had a hole in it, they would do $1 a bag, but you had to buy 5 bags minimum.
right.
So I
Get it
may or
out of
may
there.
not have seen people going through there and poking holes and stuff to get nails. I'm not condoning
No,
that, but
no. Anything else in this photo you want to pick out? Like where'd the box of the electrical box come from? Is that
that, who knows? I mean,
something picked up along the way?
yeah, and that
Just put it all
box,
together.
if I'm not mistaken, I think that box has now been in 3 different haunts since this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Reuse,
stuff ended up in
recycle.
Nashville Nightmare.
Reuse, recycle.
Absolutely. We never throw anything away. And that's kind of, one of the principles of doing this is build not only thinking about the year you're building for, but think about the future. What can you reuse? What scenes can you basically reskin or repurpose and not have to rebuild an entire scene? We did that a lot at Death Yard. We would have a scene one year that was, a 2-story mansion, and the next year we put a facade over it and it became a prison. But we didn't have to rebuild much, if anything. We just put the facade over top of it.
Right.
Oh, this scene. This is part of our industrial undead area, which is all like machine mutant hybrids. So it was a very industrial feel of the entire show. So we made use of a lot of these 55-gallon drums, a lot of sheet metal, a lot of tubing and piping, and anything that looked industrial we would put in this scene. You can see there's oxygen tanks there, stuff that came from hospitals and nursing
Got the
homes.
got the underground drains, the black
Yep.
pipe
Yep.
hanging in the
Those are actually
doorway.
those were hanging down kind of like fear flaps. They had to push their way through those.
Yeah.
And actually I think that if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure those are walk-in freezer or walk-in cooler panels for the walls and the doorways.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And we ended up using some of those outside in our parking lot area to corral the exit of the show because our exit dumped out into part of the parking lot, and we shared this space with other businesses, so we couldn't completely block off the parking lot. So we had to corral where our customers were, and we took these. They were 4x8 freezer panels, and we laid them sideways and used them as a barricade basically to corral people.
And what's the piece of equipment down there? Is that like a diagnostic machine for
I
a
think
car
I
or
think
something
so.
maybe?
I'm
Or
not 100% sure, but I do know there is also one of these machines in the original Ghostbusters.
yeah.
Because one time after
Sweet.
working at the Death Yard, I was watching Ghostbusters and I see them as they're getting kicked off the university campus. I see these guys wheeling this piece of equipment. There's like, hey, we've got one of those. So it's probably some form of diagnostics or EKG or something, some old school
Yeah.
technology.
Well, tell me you had some kind of shaker in these barrels or something when they walked underneath it, they went bang.
We didn't. We just had an actor that was in there
Okay.
and would, make noise on the
Beat
barrels
on
when
them.
when the guests would come through.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it's been beat on for a little bit right there up top.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
This actor was at least, would do it respectfully. They wouldn't, beat it to death. They would just do it
Yeah.
enough just to get noise. We had one actor
Yeah.
who, man, he took one of those barrels and by the end of the night, it looked like a crushed soda can.
Uh-huh. And we had walls, wood walls torn up, like
Yep.
someone had been just taking an axe to it.
Come on, guys. We work real hard on this stuff. Don't destroy it, please.
Yeah, that's
Like, I'll
part of it, though. You know,
I'll
you got to
give you something to bang on. Don't bang on my walls.
train them as good as you can, and
Yep.
then correct during the season. Like, okay, guys, let's have a
Yeah.
talk.
So
All right, well, tell us about this one.
this was one of the very first scenes you'd walk into, and unlike the rest of the show, this wasn't, completely destroyed and dilapidated. I mean, it was aged. You can see there's cobwebs on the lampshade there, but this was all found stuff. I don't think we paid for anything that was in this room. A lot of the stuff actually I think was still in there because when we moved in, there had been a previous attraction there, and a lot of their stuff was still in it, and we repurposed a lot of it. But one of the things we did in this scene, and I remember this specifically because it was so effective because everyone that went through mentioned it. About 6 months before season would open, we put a bunch of mothballs throughout this room. And I walked in, and after that, I went, holy cow, it smells like my grandmother's house.
Ah,
And that was the vibe we wanted to go for in there, is we wanted to feel like we wanted to feel familiar, but also unsettling.
right.
And the door in the corner there, that was just mounted to the wall that didn't go anywhere. But that creates a feeling of more depth of the space. And those were just cheap bookshelves that were screwed to the wall, and a bunch of home interior tchotchkes and paintings, and I think a couple of
And
those my mom had hanging up in my house growing up.
we had to turn pianos away. We
Oh
let
yeah,
people, so people are
because nobody wants to move them.
no, no. So if you go pick them up, people are glad to get them out of their
Yeah.
houses.
I think we had three or four at Death Yard at one point.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, we friend of ours had let us store one. He stored one in our haunt and we just ended up buying it, but it was a cool looking piece, really ornate
Yeah.
pieces, and it looks pretty good. I still kind of that one kind of looks like the one mom and dad had at their house.
Yeah,
Well,
that was, kind of a run-of-the-mill plain Jane upright piano, but
yeah,
you could, especially in Nashville, you could get those all day long if you felt like moving them.
right.
But nobody ever wanted to, so they were literally, I've had people like, "I'll pay you to take it. Please just take it."
Yeah.
Um
Imagine a
we have this
piano room.
right.
Just all
Well,
pianos.
that's kind of another thing I wanted to mention. Alan Hopp says this a lot. He goes, "Don't let trash dictate your show."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just because you can get a lot of something doesn't mean you should make,
Right.
like, oh, I found, I got a deal on 60 doors. I'm gonna have a
Well,
hall of doors.
I've seen wheelchair rooms where
Yep.
wheelchairs are stacked to the ceiling. I've seen crutch rooms.
Yep.
Um, what was the other one I saw? Oh, chair room, just a bunch of chairs just stacked on top of each other, just all, I mean, like
Like,
hundreds of
it's fine
chairs,
if that's
right?
part of your scene, but if that's the
That's
entire theme of the scene,
yeah, it was more, I think kind of more like they almost made it like a storage area, like a
yeah.
storage room, so might have been a dead spot, but
And if I'm not mistaken too, I think that couch, I think the center of it was cut out
for an
because
actor pop out.
the previous haunt had an actor pop out that we
Yeah.
was like, well, we don't want anyone to think that's going to happen when they come through if they came through the previous one, so we cut it out. But that was one of the only scenes that first year that I felt uncomfortable being in, and I don't exactly know why. Probably because it felt familiar, but it wasn't somewhere I should have known. But I didn't like working in that room.
In this room here.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it creeped
Uh,
me out, and I don't know why.
Will Akers says we call it haunt cycling.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Um, Tia, we asked local fence companies to drop the torn off fences. Yes, fences are great
Yep.
because you can use them in queue lines, you can use them as barriers. Um, says other than mothballs, which I understand, what was the scare or other fear used in this room?
This one was mainly an atmospheric set. There wasn't I mean, we had an actor that would get in there, and he was kind of this extreme evangelical type of pastor. And
Okay.
because this room was the beginning of our seven deadly sins area, and he would come in, he would basically come up and do like faux sermons and proselytize. We never did anything that was legitimately like real scripture or anything like that because we didn't want to rock that boat. But he would come in
Hmm.
and he would sound like a televangelist, and he'd be yelling at people and telling them they need to change their ways, or they're in for hellfire and brimstone. But other than that, that was a very theatrical, atmospheric scene. There wasn't really a pop out necessarily. Like, he would get a few pop outs here and there, but it was more of him being the character and really setting the scene because that was literally the first room you'd walk in.
See, I'd be like napping on that couch between groups, right? I'd be
We
like,
we we did have to, not that
give,
actor, but some other actors would meander over there. We're like, hey, come on, go.
uh-huh. And I always tell my actors, go to the room. If you're going to visit, go to the room behind you, not the
Yeah.
room in front of you, because then you have to run all the way back to your spot.
Yep.
So, you rather move forward so you can get back
Yeah.
to your spot real quick. I like what you're doing so far. I've seen natural lights, lamps, computer monitors.
Yep. We did a lot of natural lighting. We would have some, colored theatrical lighting, but we really like to lean heavily on natural light. And also we like to have elements in the room be what produce the light.
Yes.
Now sometimes you do have to have motivated lighting if the lamp isn't going to provide enough light to really light the room. But if you can light a room with the object in the space, it's going to feel that much more natural.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, this same room, our second year, got completely changed and became a kind of like the lair of a serial killer. And
Okay.
we had a ton of old uh, cathode ray tube TVs, and we stacked them up like in a wall, and they were just all playing static.
Yeah, that's
So that
cool.
was what lit the room. And it was really cool, man. Like you'd walk through and that room, that scene we did push a little bit harder on year two because we also had come into several boxes of what we called vintage smut.
Uh-huh.
It was old like nudie magazines, and we took them and we marked out obviously all the areas you don't want to have general public walking up and seeing,
Right.
but we made it part of the story to where the serial killer was he'd poke out their eyes, and he was because he was demonizing these women who had posed in these magazines, and that paired because we'd have that on one side of the static TVs on the other, and people were just kind of bouncing back and forth looking at them as they're walking through, and it was such a good way to get a jump scare because they're
Yeah.
distracted by both of those. They're expecting something on the TV, but it's literally just providing the light. And then obviously, you have some people stop and look at the pictures because, people are people. And then
Uh-huh.
boom, not, we'd send people running back out the front door half the night. Like they would be so scared by that.
A lot of distraction.
Yeah, a lot, just
Yeah.
giving them stuff to look at.
Yeah.
And that's really where knowing what to do with the items you find can help build the scare, is using it to give people something to distract them with.
Yeah. That's what I tell my actresses. We've created the playground for you guys.
Hmm.
It's already set up.
Yep.
So this is the distraction.
Yeah.
Of course, we use some actors. We use other actors for distractions,
Yeah.
a burst of air or something, or another light. Give them plenty of shadows.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges.
We always were looking for ideas to get those actors to take it to the next level. I really want to do something that they can use more than just a meal, or they can use more than just that a boy, that a girl. They love this stuff, but it's not really promoting a haunter. And then I sit down, Scarlet Badges comes out. That's when I realized this is amazing, because not only is it giving them an attaboy, but it's also promoting them all year round. And to promote somebody, to give somebody accolades all year round and have them be able to wear it on their shoulder with pride means a lot. This right here says this is who nailed it on this day in this year for the rest of their life, for the rest of their haunting life. And that's what I really love about this product, is you're able to give haunting to somebody an attaboy 365 days a year. And so hats off to you guys. I think this is a great product, and I wish you the best of luck because it's awesome.
Get your Scare Badges at scarebadges.com.
So and the actor in this room, was he just standing there when you first walked in, or was he actually hiding
He
somewhere?
he was around the corner. Sometimes there would be nights, obviously, when we'd get busy to where he didn't have time to reset, and he would just have to just be on the whole time. So sometimes he'd go over and he'd be playing on the piano. Sometimes he'd be tucked in the corner. A couple of times I walked through and he was like hiding behind the couch. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying something different." I'm like, all right, see if
Yeah.
it works.
So his is more of an unsettling scare, more of
Yeah.
a very making me uncomfortable because you're
Yep.
in my face talking to me about things I really don't want to listen to.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. He was very much. It was kind of like a mix of a harbinger, like warning them about what's coming, but also setting up a good scare for himself too.
right. Oh, and Tia was like, is the furniture secured to the floor? I know you talked about the shelving and stuff being screwed, lamp, ottoman, etc. Or is that
The
just
I think the piano was, and I know the shelves were. I don't believe the couch and the ottoman were, just because we didn't want them to, if someone did happen to fall into them, we didn't want that to add another hurdle for them to fall over.
Hmm.
We'd rather be able to them land on it and slide and slow their momentum. Also, I think we just couldn't figure out a way to secure it very well because it was a concrete floor. I do know that.
About that lamp.
The lamp was liquid nailed down onto the table.
Okay.
Yeah, anything
I
that was
mean,
placed on a surface was liquid nailed.
yeah, but the crowd never went that far, right?
No.
But it's just precautionary,
Yep.
just in case the couch gets bumped or something, and
Yep.
you never know. And
Yeah. You got to try and prepare for anything and everything you can think of.
is that another view from that workbench, or is
Yeah.
this
This is the opposite image of the first image you shared. That one.
that one?
Yep.
So this is
It's
the other end of the
from the
counter.
other angle.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually now that I see this one, I remember this was not our asylum, this was the hospital. Very similar styles, but this was our hospital scene. And we actually, if I can't remember, I think we had an actor behind those bifold doors, but we'd made them to where they didn't bifold, they just swung on a hinge. And I believe behind the opposite wall from the view you got here, we also had a pop out scare from a medicine cabinet.
That's cool. I like unexpected things like that.
Yeah, I always like to think of, take something that people expect, like a drop panel or a pop out, and how can we do it a different way and maybe make it come from an area that people aren't expecting.
Yeah. Like the couch. I
Yeah.
know I've seen couch scares before,
Mhm.
but no one's expecting anybody to pop out of a cushion.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, if you can find a way to turn something on its head from what people are expecting, I think it's that much more effective.
or I've seen like a pile of stuffed animals
Hmm.
and they stand up. They're like, oh crap.
Yep. We had a giant teddy bear that we pulled all the stuffing out of and had our costume girl turn it into a costume for somebody.
Oh,
And
nice.
dude, that thing got more scares than half the scary
Yeah.
monsters in the show.
Yeah. You're not sure what to do with that. You're like,
Right. And you're definitely not expecting it. Then when it happens, you're like, oh my God.
you were soft and cuddly. Now you're just
Now you're terrifying.
terrifying. I see some like those that kind of look like hydrogen peroxide bottles, maybe, or something, or they
No,
glass. No?
more than likely, those were probably like pickle jars or old milk jars that we cleared out from somewhere. We just grimed them up and glued them down to the table.
Okay.
And then there's an old mug there, and you see this right there in front. It's an old toolbox.
Yeah.
There's an old potty chair in the back there. No one liked to go near that thing. He was like, "Oh, that's disgusting."
So your collection of a
Yep,
few crutches back there.
yep. And those were all screwed together, then screwed to the wall, so no one could take them.
That's one. Yeah. Got a
And then,
safety proof everything.
yeah, I mean,
Even the
people,
crooked cabinet's got to be screwed to
you
the
you
crooked.
you've got to think you have to be smart enough to think like your dumbest customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you got to think what's somebody possibly going to do on a Saturday night when you don't have the time to deal with it.
And we always, for a safety check, we always had the whole group of actors go through the entire haunt
Hmm.
with their hands feeling for things,
Yep.
any kind of staples, screws, things that are loose.
Yep. I would always walk through, even outside of the show, like, through the week, if I'm there working on something, I'd walk through with my hands on the walls and check all the areas where guests would come in contact with stuff and see if I found anything. Because
Yeah.
sometimes even the stuff you do secure gets knocked loose sometimes.
So we got a favorite. What are your favorite spots for free stuff? Like I like trashing, doing auctions because you can auctions, you can get a bunch of stuff, and then checking like Facebook Marketplace where people just
Dude,
say, "Come get this stuff," and then you go get it.
I
So
check Facebook Marketplace multiple times a day, every day. For not only, haunt porn and stuff like that. I'll check for fog machines, I'll check for airbrushes, I check for air compressors, anything and everything that can be used for a haunt, I'm checking because you find really good deals on stuff. I got three really good airbrushes and an air compressor for $100 one day.
oh,
Some
nice.
some guy bought them all wanting to learn how to airbrush and then lost interest in it. He's like, I want to get rid of them.
Yeah,
It was three Iwata Eclipse airbrushes, which are usually about 150 bucks a piece.
yeah.
I got three of them, hoses and air compressor for $100. Um,
That's
I've got
score.
yeah, I've got stacks of fog machines I've gotten off Facebook Marketplace for 20 bucks or less each. A lot of times if you check right after Halloween, you'll have people who'd bought stuff for Halloween party and
Yeah.
they have no other use for it and they're getting rid of it. So yeah, always check right after season's over because people will be getting rid of stuff that you can use. I've gotten props, I've gotten costumes. It's easy to find costumes because people will be clearing out houses. Like, my great uncle died or my grandpa died, and then I have all these clothes I need to get rid of. Like, I'll come get them.
Yeah.
I'll use dead people's things all day long.
And a good
Um,
Goodwill or thrift stores is good
yeah,
for
thrift
costumes
stores are
too.
great,
Find
especially
that.
if you have like if you find non-Goodwill thrift stores,
Hmm.
you can get really good deals on stuff.
Yeah, because Goodwill is kind of inflate. They kind of inflate their
They've
prices a
yeah,
lot.
they've
I
they've
mean,
got they've gotten a little pricey as of late.
yeah.
Like you do realize these are old used stuff, right? Like,
Well, I think they seen everybody that was flipping things, and
yeah,
they wanted to. Oh well, okay, you're going to flip that for 30. I'm going to mark it for 20. That way you can, you
right.
know.
Yeah, check your thrift stores, check community centers. Uh it's just a good thing in general is just get in contact with your community. Like just anyone and everyone let them know, hey, I'm a hunter, hey, I'm doing this. If you have anything that you need to get rid of, let me know. Um Post on Facebook, hey, if you need anything hauled off, call me. I used to tell my old work, like, before you throw anything away, come get me.
Hmm.
Now, granted, that was when I was working at an animatronic shop, so I was like, "Don't throw that in the trash. I'll take it."
I was so I'm a mailman by day,
Hmm.
and I would cross people's yards. They were throwing stuff out. I was like, "You gonna say you throwing that away?
Hmm.
Hey, you set it on the side of your house. I swear I'll come back later and pick it up in my
Yep.
truck." Right? So just
Get
kind of
get some business cards made up. That makes it feel more makes people think you're more legitimate.
yeah,
Like, give them your business, even if it's your haunt business card, something like that. Like, hey, I'll come back and get this for this.
right,
Or
right,
if you don't have a haunt yet, you're just collecting stuff. Get your business cards and, hey, I'm a junk collector. That tends to make people feel more confident that you will come back instead of just some guy going, yeah, I'll come get this later.
yeah.
Oh, my morgue scene. I loved
Morgue
this
scene.
thing. Obviously, that was a real hospital stretcher that
Yeah.
we got from some hospital in Nashville. But all those morgue doors that was plywood that we put flashing over top of. We
Okay.
wrapped it and stapled it on the backside. And it's hard to tell in these photos, but the actual morgue door handles I actually cut out of 2x4s. Um,
Okay.
because the real ones are expensive and the fake ones were almost just as expensive.
Uh-huh.
So I found the shape and sketched it out and used a jigsaw and sander and spray painted them silver, and no one ever noticed.
Yeah.
Um, and on that stretcher is an old circular saw that we took the blade out of. And we actually, in addition to taking the blade out, we actually put a plate over the bottom so nothing could get pulled into it. And it would be sitting there on the stretcher, and the groups would walk in the room and see it, and they would get right over close to the stretcher. And the actor would come out and grab it, and like he'd be within inches of them because they're leaning over the stretcher.
Yeah.
And that was the last scene of the show, and they would take off running. And if you look at the floor, you can see the way the light is on the floor. We shine the light through just a piece of diamond mesh to get kind of we got a free gobo effect that way. And this is an area where obviously we didn't use natural lighting, but we used cool lighting to motivate that you're in a morgue. It's going to be cooler. You're wanting to keep bodies cool. You don't want them getting hot and smelly. But I like to, if I use motivated lighting, if I can use a gobo to help tell a story and break up the light so it doesn't just look like a floodlight.
Right.
I like to do that. I love shining lights through walls. I love putting lights behind objects to cast shadows because that's stuff you can do that costs you. You're going to put a light in there anyway. You might as well make the light help tell the story, and that costs you no extra money.
And what kind of material did you say that was?
Flashing, like the material they use for putting around objects on a roof.
Okay.
It's a really, really thin sheet metal.
Oh, you talk about I mean the light panel.
Oh, sorry.
The
It was a diamond mesh.
diamond mesh.
Hmm.
Like a plexiglass type of
No, it's just a metal, like industrial diamond material.
okay, piece of steel.
Yeah, but it's trying to think of something to like you see it a lot of times on industrial steps.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
it's open so water doesn't stand on it, but the way they punch it out, it gives traction.
Yeah, toolboxes and
Yeah,
bed
like
liners
well,
and
there's diamond plate and there's diamond mesh.
mesh.
Yeah, diamond
Okay.
mesh is basically it's an expanded steel. They punch a bunch of holes in it and stretch it.
And
But
the gobo lighting is like different
any
colors. Like
it's just the a gobo is anything that goes in front of a light to break it up and cause a pattern or shadow.
okay.
It's an old theater term is I think it's short for go between, and it's for transitions. And you can make them out of I've seen guys make them out of construction paper. if you're using LEDs and they're not getting hot, and you just shine your light through it, and it'll create a light breakup in your scene. Universal Studios uses them a lot for Halloween Horror Nights for their lights out on the fear zones because you can. One really cool thing you can do that you can get them to where it looks like clouds. So you shine your light through it, it creates a cloud shadow effect or tree branch shadows.
Yeah.
It's a really cool way to just elevate your lighting that costs you no extra money, or if it does cost you something that's very little. I actually saw a company at Transworld this year. I can't remember which company it was, but they were doing 3D printed gobos that fit right over top of. Actually, it might have been Gantum.
Okay.
They fit right over the
The
little LED floods.
Yeah. I see what you're talking about now, the pattern on the floor.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's the diamond pattern.
yep.
And then the lighting, the blue lighting was the gobo. The
Yeah, that was the lighting shining through the mesh for the mesh was basically the gobo.
Okay.
The light was just a blue flood.
So using different types of lighting, different angles.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can do it, light from multiple angles. Don't just light one unless you're using it for the effect. But different angles gives you different bouncing light effects.
I've seen people use large cookie sheets for morgue doors.
Huh,
It's
that
like industrial
yeah,
size, those big ones, like,
if, if it
so
works,
yeah. It's whatever you can. I've seen people use
that's
plywood and paint it with chrome. You try
that's
to,
that's what I love about haunting, man. Is I mean, other than doing things unsafe, there's no wrong way to do things.
yeah. And even if you didn't have an actor and that freaking saw just came on by
Yeah.
itself, I'd be like, what?
So hey, that for some people that might be more effective.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, your actor's not there one night. Just
Get a,
have it on a motion sensor, right?
get a supernatural effect that way.
Yeah. So what's this?
This was also at our hospital scene, and this was an old rundown dummy that we had lying around, and I took it in there and took some of the medical implements we had lying around and just went to town on it. That one instrument in the front, that's a thermometer, and I just had jabbed into his lungs. And up on the wall back there, that's actually a dimmer pack from stage lighting, all the plugs.
Okay.
That's an old lighting dimmer pack. We got some oxygen tanks screwed to the wall. That arm over top of it is a swing arm desk lamp,
Yeah.
and we had all these different IV tubes and air hoses and CPAP hoses and anything and everything we could put on this guy to make it look like he'd really just been experimented on. And we had him flayed open and blooded the crap out of him, and that heart was actually just laying there. The actor could pick it up and manipulate it. And the groups actually came in from the doorway that's behind him and would have to walk around him through the scene, which pushed them towards the actor as well.
Mm-hmm. What'd
And
you use for the staining on the machine? Like just a paint, watered down
uh,
paint,
actually, wood stain.
wood stain? Okay.
Yep, we used a lot of different colors of wood stain, a lot of shellac, just because it gives it a really gross kind of yellowed look.
Yeah.
But yeah, we use a lot of wood stain, and we'd brush it on and then spritz it with water to make it run, and did on the wall treatment back there behind him as well. And then we would come in and uh, do that throughout the room, and then go do something else, and come back like, all right, do we need to add anything else? That's a big key in doing scenic stuff is knowing when to walk away for a minute because you could really overdo something,
Yeah.
uh, and then be like, oh crap, I can't come back from this
Yeah. Like 8 syringes could have turned into 20 syringes, right? So
very easily.
it's like we
Now,
got more. We can stick it.
now that's another one of the great perks of not having a huge budget is it's hard to go overboard when you don't have endless.
Yeah. Well, they always say when you're low on funds, you get more creative with what you got. So you have to
Absolutely.
be. I mean, I've seen it. A lot of scariest haunts I've been to have been low budget haunts
Oh, dude,
because they don't have the budget, so they're pouring
every
out their heart and soul into this thing and their
I always say
time.
that great haunts are not bought, great haunts are built.
Yeah.
And that comes from the thought process of you have to get creative. Um, I've seen I've seen shows that have huge budgets that there's no heart in it because everything was just purchased and placed and nobody built anything.
Yeah. It's too commercialized.
Yeah, I know I referenced him earlier, but I reference Alan Hops a lot. I like his mentality of nothing arrives finished.
Yeah.
Even if it's a prop you bought at the show, when it comes to your show, it's not finished because you haven't put it in your scene. And just putting it in a room doesn't necessarily mean you've put it in a scene. And what I mean by that is you can place something in a room and it doesn't necessarily feel like it's supposed to be there until you tie it in with everything else.
Yeah. Because I think we've probably all been through haunted attractions that have liked that, that it's,
Mhm.
yes, like you said, it's got all the it's got all the cool props and all the animatronics but it's not complete. It doesn't have the layers. It doesn't have the finer details that make it look like actually someone's been doing operational
Mhm.
work on this person. You just lay the body up in there, without the tanks, without the hoses, maybe just some
Yeah.
grunge. Okay, you're gonna get an effect, but you're not gonna get that. Oh,
Right.
damn.
It doesn't feel like anything was done. It just feels like it's there.
Yeah, gotta
And
tell a story, right?
yeah, and I would tell the actor in the scene like be doing something to that body when the group walks in. Like already be active before they come through the curtain.
Yeah,
So it's almost like they're interrupting what you're doing.
working
And
on
the
it.
yep.
Got a big syringe or something, and
Yep.
the actor's got one sitting there with something inside of it.
I always wanted to just have a bucket of water and a sponge sitting there so they just
Yeah,
sling water around at them.
they love that. I know they love
Right.
getting wet.
Especially up close, you douse them. But I was telling you, because one that makes you look real. So instead of them walking in, you go, oh, 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 and you start doing something. But also two, that gives you some motivation because if you're operating, if you're a deranged doctor, and you're operating on this guy, and they walk in, they're interrupting you. So now you have motivation to be angry at them, or you have motivation that, oh, I have fresher subjects now. This guy's kind of turning on me.
Yeah,
You know, use those sorts of things in your performance.
right.
That just makes your character feel that much more authentic.
It's true. Have you checked out HauntersToolbox.com yet? It's free to join and full of useful information to help you start and grow your own haunted attraction business. All the information on HauntersToolbox.com is created by the pros who do it. We have a library with ebooks and presentations on topics like creating an employee handbook, starting a business plan, or the best types of lights to use at your haunt, plus a lot more. You get instant access to the library plus free video masterclasses by the experts in the haunt industry. Classes like Alan Hops from Dark Hour Haunted House teaching scare acting, or Philip Hernandez from the Haunted Attraction Network teaching marketing and social media, or Leonard Pickle from Hauntpreneurs teaching haunt design and construction. I even got a few master classes in there as well. You don't have to do it alone. Let us help you. We also host monthly live masterclasses to steer you in the right direction so you don't get lost. Once you become a member, you also get instant updates on our next masterclass in your email so you don't miss the next one. And if you need more one-on-one help, there is an option for that as well. I would be honored to help you get your attraction started or help you grow your current one. I know what it takes. Let's talk. If you're interested, you want to start and grow your haunted attraction, go check out HauntersToolbox.com. Don't be scared. Stop for some questions. Tia, another cheap cheat when the lighting goes on sale at Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's. After season, you could take out the gobos and have solid color spotlight instead of the silly scene it was
Yep.
showing. Um, Sorry to keep asking these questions. In these rooms on a budget, what is the ceiling in most? Do you cover or open? I'm curious about light and sound transfer from room to room.
Um, it really depended. Some scenes had semi-solid roofs or ceilings in it, and what I mean by semi-solid was we'd have plywood up, but we'd have big sections cut out of it. Maybe either make it look distressed or something like that. And then sometimes we would just do camo netting, just because honestly, sometimes we ran out of time. Just throw some camo net up. But sometimes that would sell the effect we were going for. We wanted to look kind of like wood overgrowth. But it really just depended on the scene, and we weren't terribly concerned about sound bleed over because most of our areas were kind of the same ambient soundtrack anyway. So if because you'd come into this where this area was, you had an asylum and a hospital all together. So if you had some bleed over from the asylum into the hospital, it didn't destroy the scene. But now if we had a Victorian manor on the other side of the haunt and you got bleed over from the hospital, that could make it feel weird. But you just have to be aware of what scenes were around it and try to tie things not necessarily the exact same theme, but similar notes, if that makes sense. You
Yeah,
know,
and always
if
and
you've got,
speaker placement is a
yeah,
big thing too. How you
yeah.
where you shoot your speakers high or low, point them to the ground.
hmm
Um,
Most of our stuff was overhead pointed down into the room,
yeah,
so it didn't broadcast out very far.
yep. And we always use double-sided wall panels, 2x4, so it's really thick and
Hmm
double-sided on each side. So you can even insulate the inside of those
Yeah,
things if you wanted to.
yeah. And then what you do is you insulate those panels and you put a morgue scene inside of there, make it even colder.
That's right. Turn the air on. Put a little
Put your
portable air
little
conditioner.
put your little mobile AC unit in there.
Yeah. Make it cold. Tell the
And
actor to bundle up.
I've I've always wanted to do stuff like that to like tie into temperature control in scenes, but it's
Yeah.
really hard to do.
Yeah, Missouri, it's like some nights are 30 degrees anyway, so it's like,
Yeah.
the whole damn hot is cold. So, oh, what's this one?
This was kind of a reception area for the hospital. And I loved this desk because it just looked so cool. That was an old school overhead projector, and there's an old CB radio microphone there, and I cobwebbed the bejesus out of this desk. Um,
Is that a
well,
spray cat, the webcaster?
oh yeah,
Yeah, okay.
this was heavy webcast days.
Looks good.
And then a stack of different medical equipment. Couldn't tell you what any of it did. But that big red container back there was a legitimate old like hazmat removal container.
Okay.
So we're like, well, we're gonna clean this real well before we put it in here.
Yeah.
But we're gonna leave all the hazmat labels on it. And the groups would you could see part of the walls broken out to the left hand side of the screen there. So they would come in and we'd come in with joint compound and mortar and made it look like the stone like it was a stone wall, but it was all plywood walls. But it made it look like they'd busted through a block wall and had found this old area. And they would have to come and walk around the desk, and we would have an actor uh, on the through the doorway on the right hand side, and they would have to walk into a bathroom scene. So we had a, a commode on the floor and a urinal on the wall, and the urinal had a water spritz effect that we'd attached to it, which we'd made, poor man's process away doing that of just an airline run through a 5 gallon bucket of water. Like
Uh-huh.
and we had it on a manual control, so there was no like sensor. It was just actor controlled. We had an actor. An actor was in a stall, like behind a stall door, and he would hit a button to do this water spritz. And right when he do that, he would come busting out of the stall, so he could really hit him twice there and chase them on through the rest of the area.
Right.
And I loved this area. That it just I I was probably partial to it because I worked this scene as the deranged doctor. But I loved the way it looked, loved the way it felt. We were playing like old 1930s music throughout the whole thing, so it had a very like House on Haunted Hill, the 99 House on Haunted Hill vibe to it.
Yeah.
And then you'd get all those songs stuck in your head, so you'd be singing 1930s songs all season.
One of the heaviest pieces I've had donated to me was a chiropractor had this old, I want to say it was an X-ray table,
Okay.
and it swiveled. It took four people to move it, and it swiveled, so almost stood straight up. So you could do like a Frankenstein thing, or we could do. We had props on there before, just hanging on it. But finally, once we remodeled everything, we put it in a spot where we didn't move it ever again because the thing was so freaking heavy. It was cool though, because it was kind of like the mint green color.
Yeah.
It was had a smooth top on it, like an X-ray. Plus, I got a bunch of X-ray, old X-rays that he had boxes of.
Oh, nice.
And so of course, we hung all them up and put lights behind them, trying to find the creepiest ones.
Yep.
So,
I I love doing like hospital and medical scenes because you can really get gross with some stuff.
yeah.
This guy, oh man, this was in our seven deadly sins area, and this was our gluttony sin prop, and he is entirely chicken wire and monster mud. I
Oh, so really?
Yeah, I formed him out of chicken wire and went over top of it with monster mud and really made up the forms and put tidy whities on him and made him as gross as possible, and came in and carved the word gluttony into his stomach as the monster mud was setting up.
Ah, I see.
And actually, I made these. This is something we thought would be funny. I made these giant latex nipples to put on him, so he had these really robust nipple areas,
Yes.
and then over top of his head, uh, we took, I think it was a just a dummy head that wasn't part of the body, and we glued it on him, and I put a shopping bag over top of him and duct taped it around the around the neck, and then made up a bunch of fake vomit and had it come pouring out of the bag, and then that was some of the permablood that, that I'd mixed up that I used on him there, and just really made him look as gross as possible. Had his hands pinned to the wall, and it was actually I made it outside of the haunt, like out because I wanted the monster mud to dry, so I was out in the sun, and then I had to carry him through the haunt to put him in place, and that was an ordeal, trying not to break him.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool looking prop and really grossed a lot of people out.
Did you use real hand, like real latex hands, kind of like,
I
or
I had some old like dummy hands, like cheap plastic dummy hands, and just screwed them to the wall and grunged them up and made them look super bloody,
right?
so no one could really tell what they were. I mean, you could tell they were hands, but you couldn't tell that they were cheap. Like I think they were from the Dollar Tree.
Yeah. The right light and anything could be.
The right lighting and the right amount of grunge and grossness, and no one's gonna want to look too close.
Nah,
That
most
was,
definitely.
I'm trying to remember where that was. I think that was in the crematorium area. I just really liked the way that light turned out with the cobwebs and I
Is that
think
just
I'm pretty sure
that
that's
just what
the actual center block wall of the building.
is that just like one of those hanging lights that you can get from
I think that's actually like a brooder, like a chicken brooder light
okay, yeah,
that
from
we
a
just
like
put a different light bulb in.
tractor supply store. It sells
Yep.
them like that.
Yep. And you can see we had some buttons and gauges over on the wall that was part of the crematorium oven. That was actually a drop panel. So one section of the wall on the oven was the whole thing was brick panel, and then one section would drop down as a drop panel. Again, stuff that no one's going to be thinking about. They're looking at the crematorium oven. It's got lights going, and we'd have a fog machine going, and no one's expecting it to be a drop panel.
Right.
But I just really like the way that light looked. There's another
Yeah.
shot of that desk where you see a little bit wider shot of everything. There's a couple old TV monitors. That's actually from the opposite angle of the other picture. And we'd pull the drawers out, put stuff in them, and we scattered like we were taking old books and ripping them up and scattering the pages all over the place, and just anything and everything to make it look like someone was doing something here. At one point, things kind of went awry, and then they had to make a quick break for it. Like
Right.
it's up and left.
So when you're designing and coming out with a haunt, do you always keep the story relevant so everybody's kind of on the same page of
It's
design?
it's always story first. Think about why things are done, who was here, what was going on, and then take your story and then find things to fit your story. Don't go the opposite way. Now, sometimes you'll be given something, and you go, "Holy crap, this would be great," and you have to try and use it because you can't not use it. But try to see if you can work it into your story. If you can't work it into your story this year, hold on to it. Maybe you can work it in next year. But always be thinking about the story because that's why people are coming. They're coming to be entertained, and stories entertain people. Cool sets are cool to look at, but that's not going to entertain people. They want to feel like they're part of this environment. Yeah, that's a panoramic shot of that one hallway that I was talking about where we had the clearly the iMac was not there at this point because it would have been down there
Right.
where that briefcase is. But yeah, this was that hallway that I scared a ton of people in that hallway.
Yeah.
And you can see like we had some laboratory beakers there, old clipboards with documents on them, just anything we could find that would fit into the story. And
Yeah. So start collecting stuff now.
yeah, always. We would
If if your significant other says, why are you collecting that stuff? Just say, hey, this is my garage. And no.
if if they say you're distant and quiet, just lock the door and go in the garage and work on your projects.
That's right. Leave me alone. It's my Halloween garage.
That's me many moons ago and several pounds ago. This is another thing we did. We found out this year that year that Dapper Cadaver would sell what they called budget bodies, and it was castings of their bodies that were just the casting. The flashing hadn't been trimmed off it, which is all the excess material that comes squeezed out of the mold. They weren't painted. They didn't have any hair, nothing. But you could get them for a fraction of the cost of a finished prop. And if you have someone who knows how to finish props, that's a good way to go. Because you can get them. If you don't have someone that knows how to finish props, you can learn how to finish props. It's not hard. It's a lot of fun. So we took her. It's called the Budget Jessica, and it's just a foam body. I trimmed all the excess material off of her. I painted her, put a wig on her. I put some eyeballs in her, and we put her in a scene. And this just happened to be this was a shot through the window into my makeup room, and I looked up and someone was taking a picture, so I just decided to ham it up and act like I was stabbing a screwdriver into her neck. And on
So
the sorry, go ahead.
do they still sell bodies like that?
I believe so. If they don't, I'm sure somebody else does.
Okay.
Check with your vendors. Go on these vendor websites to look up. A lot of times they'll have either clearance sections or budget friendly sections. If you don't see something, shoot them an email. Ask them. Also, a good thing to ask is, hey, do you ever have stuff that doesn't, do you have failed castings that, maybe one part of the arm didn't fully fill up? Would you be willing to sell that? A lot of times, if, they'd rather sell it for something than sit on it for nothing. And actually, I was gonna say on that mannequin torso on the table, and you see some of them lined up on the bottom there. I was making sock masks for the show, and that was always a good way to recycle old, like maybe prosthetics that got ripped or some, might have a hard edge that you can't blend off into makeup anymore. You glue them onto either a spray sock or some nylon pantyhose, and then you can paint them up as a mask. And they're lightweight. They have really high detail. You can get some movement out of them, so it's kind of like getting a really high detailed makeup in a split second. Just putting a mask on.
I've always wanted to create one. I've never have, because I've gone through classes that have taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
Um, do they hold up? Do they wear well?
I mean, like any mask, it depends on how well the actor takes care of them. They can tear them up just as easily as they can anything else.
Yeah.
But I have some sock masks that I've had since I was working at Ripley's, which was now 14 years ago. So it really just depends on how well you take care of them. And the good thing about them, if something does happen, they're easy to fix.
Right.
They're a great way to get highly detailed looking characters without a lot of extra time and money.
And you figure the actors would want to wear them because they're
They're
lighter,
they're
they're
much
breathable.
lighter. And at the end of the night, they can take the mask off and go home. They don't have to take all the makeup off, or they don't have to sit through makeup at the beginning of the night. Of course, it never fails. Some actors say they'll wear masks in the beginning of the season, and then halfway through, like, I don't want to wear a mask anymore. I want makeup. Like, well, I don't have time to put you in a makeup.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's it.
that was the last one. So I didn't have any. I was going to get some pictures of your mask, but I didn't. Tell us a little bit about Von Grimm. What kind of masks do you
Yeah.
make at Von
I
Grimm?
uh I make I make sock masks like the ones we are talking about, but I specialize in latex and burlap scarecrow style masks that are comfortable for actors to wear and durable for haunt owners. So you're not having to replace stuff each season. I also have sculpted masks, like sculpted half masks. Some have movable jaws, some are just one piece, but they're all different styles, and I'm always coming up with new stuff. Yeah, there's got some of my kids and everything on there.
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
It's a glimpse into my life.
I
Um,
was trying to find some.
yeah, there's some silicone repair stuff I do. I think I've got some more masks down towards the bottom. There's my Zeke the plumber.
That one?
Yep, for all my '90s kids.
Nice.
And then there's some of my half masks. There's a couple sock masks right there yeah, that's a sock mask I made. A guy wanted a frozen undead Viking. So I worked with him and came up with this design for him.
It looks good.
Thanks, man. It's a sock mask. And you can see that one was on nylon pantyhose. It's a size Q, the biggest size you can get for nylon pantyhose.
Size Q.
Size
Okay.
Q, and use the
Noted.
waistband for the neck.
So it kind of hangs down. So it's kind of
Yep. And then you cut the legs off of it and glue that smooth,
see another angle of that. Yeah. Okay.
and that one I think
It's
no, look
flesh
at it, I think
color.
yeah. And that one I
Yeah.
had a separate jaw piece. It was like a latex jaw off one of my other masks. So that's another thing I do is I'll cut if I cut something off this one, I'll save it and use it later on.
Yeah, I don't throw anything away.
I use it all. That's one of my favorite designs. I call that one Scully.
So I was trying to get a clear picture.
Good luck. That was a cheap cell phone photo.
There's a better one. Yeah.
Yeah. And that one's kind of a hybrid between my latex masks and my burlap masks because I sculpted that skull mask and um, I did one. The first one I did, it was actually a foam latex prosthetic I had laying around and I glued it on. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I ran out of those. But I'd sculpted that skull mask and I was like, oh, I can just use that. And that's been one of my most popular designs.
And it's like an open mouth design. Is that
Yes,
right?
it's got a big opening. All of my masks I like to have good open eyes, open mouth, good nasal breathing, and hearing, so that
Hmm.
Like I don't do anything that's a stock piece to where the eyes are covered. I think it's a cool look, but I don't want to do that for safety reasons. Now,
Yeah.
if someone wants something done like that on a mask they buy from me, I'll absolutely do it for them.
Well, if you guys want to check out more, go to Von Grimm
Yeah, check me
Productions
out.
on Facebook.
Yep. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's all Von Grimm Productions.
Okay. So, well, thank that was a lot of good information, guys. If you have any more questions, please, we got about 5 minutes left. Comments, feedback, any other tips for people that want to do stuff on the cheap. So, um, I mean, you've been a professional, you've been doing this for years, and you're still doing things on the cheap. And is that
Mhm.
because that's the way you've been taught, or that's just the way things work out? I mean, to me, that's the way I get a better look out of stuff that I'm doing, you know.
It's it's a little of both. Like I'm at the haunt I'm at now is a 13th Realm in West Tennessee, 13th Realm haunted attraction. We have a decent budget. I mean, our owner spends a lot of money at Transworld every year, but I still try and think of how to do things on the cheap because it's I don't want to just spend his money just to spend his money. Like I want to stretch it as far as we can. And two, it's a good exercise to always be thinking, what can I use to do this without having to spend bukus of money to do it? Because even if you have a good budget, doesn't mean you have to spend all of it. Because if you don't spend it all on this effect, that's more money you can spend on marketing. It's more money you can spend on upgrades next year. It's more money you can spend on paying your actors a bonus at the end of the season if they do really well. Like I like to stretch a dollar as far as it can possibly go. I had a manager tell me one time because I used to be a purchaser at a job I worked at, and he went and fought for me to get a raise one time. And the way he fought for it, because he told me this after the fact, he goes, I went and told him, said, Matt spends your money like it's his own money. Like he's always finding you the best price. You need
Hmm.
to take care of him. And I'm the same way in the haunt world. Like if I'm given a budget, I think that budget is coming out of my own wallet. So I try and make the most out of it. And plus, it's just fun to make stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's fun to look at things and go, all right, what else could that be?
Or stand back and say, I only spent 20 bucks on that.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
say,
like the things we were bragging about tonight. Like
yeah,
they're cool stories to tell other hunters. Like, oh yeah, all that stuff I got in there, $20. Because then you get people going, holy crap, really?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
It's
it's just fun, man.
and of course, being a home haunter, I kind of started out in my garage and
Hmm.
learned, and I don't have a big budget, and I have a little more room to wiggle now. But when I started, I didn't have that budget at all, so it was
Yeah.
all paper mache. We talked about all the old websites earlier, going, before the days of YouTube now and TikTok, where you can get all this information. No, it wasn't. It was searching. I'm
Dude,
not
I
sure.
remember
I'm sure Google was around, but I don't remember. Just remember
I
trying
remember
to.
one of the very first YouTube haunter videos, and this guy did a bunch of them. I found it was Dr. Creepy, and you could tell he was in his basement, and he had like really harsh like uplighting, not
Uh,
because he was trying to be creepy, but that's just how he lit his videos. And I learned a lot of like low budget tricks from that guy, and stuff I go back and I look at now. I'm like, oh, I thought that was really cool back then.
yeah.
Seeing it now, I'm like that's not that cool. And Alan Hops, man, like I remember finding Alan Hops shoot probably 2009. That's when I first saw Alan Hops videos,
Yeah.
and immediately I was like, oh, I need to follow this guy. He knows a lot of stuff. And the first time I met him, I was like, I feel like I owe you money for how much I've learned from
Right.
you.
The old I remember the old trash bag skin wall that
Hmm. I still
making
use that.
making skin out of old trash bags and a heat
Yeah,
gun.
I still use
Uh
that trick.
Corpsing skeletons is pretty easy.
Yep.
I use take a skeleton and take I use a thin painter's plastic because
Hmm.
it melts better
Yep.
and just wrap your skeleton in it. Of course, be in proper ventilation. Take your
Yep.
heat
Do it
gun.
outside.
Yeah, and take your heat gun and just kind of meld that plastic kind of way
Yeah.
you want it to look. Open up the jaw a little bit and break the jaw open and bend
Yeah.
some of the fingers. You can heat the fingers up and make them all crazy looking, just with a heat gun and the plastic and stain. And you stain
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So,
And they look great.
and they look great.
And for the amount of ones you can do and using that process versus the old latex and cotton method that you guys did
Yeah.
years ago, those looked great, but they took forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long as you keep, and they hold up. I mean,
yeah,
because they're, especially if you wrap the plastic the right way and then you
yep.
heat it the right way, it just
Shrinks in, holds itself.
shrinks that
Yep,
skeleton up. And But yeah, there's so many cool tips out, so many cool things to do out there. Like you said, Alan Hops is a good one. There's also this other lady I've been following. I forgot. I think she just did a interview with Hauntcast as
Okay.
well. And I've been getting some of her videos. She does things on the pool noodles, chicken wire,
Yep.
all the
It's
haunt tool, all the haunt materials you go
I
to.
love puzzles, and to me, it's just one big puzzle. Like, all right, how can we make this work? How can we build this?
Right.
I love problem solving.
Yep. I should share some pictures that I had, but my first big prop that I built was I had this one of the big hanging clowns.
Yeah.
So probably a spirit prop, but it's an older one. It's got a big clown face, and then it has a wire and then two hands,
Hmm.
and then just fabric hanging off
Yeah.
of it. So I took the two hands and the head. When I first built it, I was attempting a big puppet. So I
Okay.
took the head, took the hands, had him on some all thread on a backpack. It was too heavy. It was awkward. So we
Yeah.
turned it into a hanging puppet. So it's hanging from the warehouse, and then an actor would get behind it and move the arms, and the head was kind of like right above your head, and
Yeah.
then you could see out of the fabric. And I think I spent like $100 on on the prop, and then I created a prop that they just now see it was Dead Factory now. I think maybe last year they actually took it out of commission. It's still a prop that's
Yeah.
hanging when you first go. You have to walk underneath it to go into the clown area. But I mean, we did so much work to that thing. The backpack broke, and we became what was it, the actor didn't strap it on. It was just hanging, and he would just hurry up, get up in there, and move
Yeah.
it, and then come back, and it would just hang there. But
The very first haunt I ever worked at, he was doing some really cool stuff that was all actor driven. Like he had actor controlled corpse pults that he'd built out of wood that they'd grab the lever behind the wall and pull it and it would shoot out. We had one
ah,
that was we call him the Mantis Man. He was in a casket, there's his corpse there, and it was all PVC frame, and you'd pull the handle on the back and the arm would shoot out.
yeah,
And he had this one, and I remember asking, like, do you have like motor and stuff back there? He goes, no, because all that stuff breaks. It's
yeah,
all actor controlled. He had a dresser that he took the back off of and put screwed 2x4s and handles to the drawers, and actor could manipulate the dresser drawers from behind the scenes. So people would walk in the scene, and the drawers would start sliding open, and it was really cool. Yeah. I think you might have froze on me, Brian. There you are.
can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You froze up, and then I lost it. And I
yep.
don't know what happened.
Telling a story,
But
and then I noticed you stopped reacting. I was like, uh-oh.
yeah, must have been Zoom. Say you've been on there 2 hours. Get off.
Right.
Well, I want to thank everybody for your questions, and your comments. Crickets. Yeah. Time for beer. He's gone. Time for beer. Yeah. So
Always.
take some of these ideas you learned tonight and try them out. I know a lot of you guys probably do things on the cheap anyway. As that seems like you talk to haunters and most of them are like that. But there are people that, to me, it's become when you first start out, you have more time than money. And then your haunt gets bigger, you have less time and more money. And that's when you start buying the silicone props and the kits. And you're just like, no, just $1,000. I want $500. It just, in your head, it becomes more of a number thing. You're like, well, we could do that, but it's going to take us 15 hours to put that together. Let's just spend money on it and call it done. But I like to kind of be in between where you're still building a lot of things yourself, and
I
some of
would,
that stuff that you can't, like the realistic stuff, you kind of want that oh, who I'm thinking of, the silicone bodies, Ghost Ride.
Ghost Ride.
I really want that Ghost Ride autopsy body right there when they first walk in. I want the veins and everything just perfect. But if you're not, to me, I've seen so many people buy the $2,000 or $3,000 props like that, but they're not highlighted like they should be. It's something like that. If that's your budget, you want the autopsy lights on it. You want people to walk around the whole thing so they completely see the whole thing because that's a big piece.
Yeah.
So you
You're
want to
making the
show it
most out of it.
off, right? So, but majority of stuff you can be built on a budget.
Yeah. And if I give you a piece of advice, if you get to a point where you have more money than you have time, find you some young kid who wants to learn how to do this stuff and give him the money to start making the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how far they'll stretch it because they're just excited to have money and wanting to do stuff.
Right.
So take a chance on some of those younger haunters and give them that opportunity because someone did that for me, and I will be thrilled to be able to do that for somebody one day.
Or create like a make and take at the haunt where
Yeah,
everybody's molding skulls, or we're painting bones, or we're corpsing skeletons. Make it a learning experience for everybody.
because you never know. You do something like that, and you find somebody in your crew that has a skill you had no idea they could even do.
Wow,
That
happens all the
elevates your
time.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a fire juggler that was out there. I didn't know he was uh the girl came in to act, and it was a boyfriend. And then the boyfriend wanted to act, and then he acted for a few nights, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, I have these they're whatever that you light them on fire,
Hmm.
and they're attached to a rope, you juggle them
Oh,
around."
fire dart.
Yeah. He's like, "I can do that." You have your own insurance? Yeah. All right, let's go.
There you
Do
go.
it. But well, thanks again, man.
Absolutely.
We're gonna next time. I'm sure we'll have you back on again for something.
Anytime, man. I'm
All
happy to
right.
come on.
And once again, this will be on the Haunt Topic Radio page, Haunt Topic Radio on Facebook. Shared it. I'll share it in Hunter's Toolbox. I tried sharing it earlier, but so if you're a member of Hunter's Toolbox group, I'll put it in there, pin it to the top. Matt, where can they find you and get a hold of you?
You can either find me on Facebook at Matt Scott or facebook.com/Von Gren Productions. And please don't hesitate to shoot me a message. I love chatting with haunters. I love talking haunt. I mean, Brian can attest. I'll talk about haunts till the sun comes up. So if you have any
And we've actually
questions,
done
or
that almost.
yeah,
Pretty close.
uh, if you have any questions about anything or just want to talk shop, shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to talk to you.
All right. Go check out Von Grimm. Go build something.
Go make stuff, to quote Alan Hops.
That's right. Go make stuff. Thanks, Alan. All right. I'm signing off.
All right, man. Me too.
All right. Y'all have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges. Get your Scare Badges at scarebadges.com. Also sponsored by Hunter's Toolbox. Take your haunt to the next level at hunterstoolbox.com. Thank you for listening to Haunt Topic Radio. Please leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. Each comment you leave will help spread the word to other haunters around the world. See you next time.